So three fuels, just like from the same source. You have associated gas and non-associated gas. By 2021, the non-associated gas was only under Sankofa Ginyame. This one too is only 2021. So from the highlights in red, you can see in all we had 256,262 million standard cubic feet. So that's what we had. But you could see one from the Jubilee, which is 7528, and then 10 gave us 64,129, and then the Sankofa one, the associated gas gave us 51,659, and then non-associated gas 69,945. So in all, we had a total of, that's including both associated and non-associated, we have 256,262.04 million standard cubic feet. That is in quantities. Now let's come to the sources of petroleum revenue in 2021. This one, we are putting values on the volumes. So from the normal three fields, or before I come to the figures, as you are aware, our main sources of revenue is royalty. The royalty is the rights given to the oil companies to extract oil. If you are not giving rights, just like if you want to build a house, you have to seek for building permit so that to give you the right to build the house. The same way, you have to get a right to extract oil, and the money paid on the right is called royalties. And then we have CAPI, carrying and participating interest. That one relates to the shareholder structure. How much are we participating in the extraction of oil as far as Ghana is concerned? What is our percentage? And that one, the royalties, the gap is between 5% and 15%. And then carrying and participating interest to 15 to 25. And then we have CIT, that's the corporate income tax. You all know that the normal corporate income tax in Ghana for companies is 25%. If you, based on profit, if you make a profit, then they charge you 25%, but here it's 35%. So the CIT, you also get a lot of money from it through the taxation. And then you have surface rentals. Surface, after you got the right, there you determine the number, the space. If you want 2 kilometers, then 2 kilometers, they will charge you. If you want 20, depending on your strength. So the amount you get from this renter, as far as space is concerned, is called surface rentals. You get money also from there. And then you have petroleum holding fund. All revenue from oil extraction goes to an account at the Bank of Ghana. Once the money has not been utilized, it yields an interest. So the interest from that account is also an income which forms part of the petroleum revenue in Ghana. So to come back, royalties for the year 2021 alone gave us 185,683,636.46 Ghana dollars. You are talking in dollars, not in cities here. And then that's carrying and participating interest. We have 392,930,240.44. And corporate tax, 203,854,804.35. Surface rentals, we had 826,815.52, and the income we get from petroleum account at the Bank of Ghana was 30,348. So the total revenue from oil production in 2021 came to 783,325,000 $849.86. So we are talking in terms of dollars. And cumulatively from inception to date, the total revenue we have got from the time we started extraction of oil, that is from 2010 to 2021, the total amount we have received or we have earned is $7.36 billion US dollars. $7.36 billion. That's the total. And then the breakdown is as follows. 2011, we got 444.12 million. And then 2012 also is there. So you could see 2014 was the highest. That is 978.02 million. And then came 2018, you have 977.09. And then it started coming down, 925. Then 2020, almighty COVID came in. So we had 666.39. And then when COVID went down a little, we were able to rise up to 783.33. So that is the current 2021. As I said, in all, from inception to date, the total revenue generated from extraction of oil is $7.36 billion US dollars. And this amount, how it was distributed in 2021. As I said, when we get the money from the sales sources, I explained, all the money first goes to, that is Bank of Ghana, before the money are distributed to the various institutions. So in all, in 2021, we distributed 808,610,309. 608,610,309.11. That is in all. So this one is divided into quarters. First quarters, we released 88,955,774. Second quarter, 241,309,475. And then third quarter, 194,807,052. And the fourth quarter, which was the highest, 283,538, and then $6 US dollars. So in all, in 2021 alone, the total distribution from Petroleum Holding Fund at Bank of Ghana was 808,610,309.11 US dollars. Cumulatively, we have released 7.33 billion. Remember, we had 7.36 in total, but the amounts we have distributed is 7.33, meaning the little left, you have to keep it. Other than that, the banks will tell you that your bank is not, account is not active, therefore they will put it under suspense. So we've left some. So you could see the 733 is different from 7.36 because we want to keep some money there. And you know, we have GMPC, which is the blue one, that got 30%, 2,232,153,765. That's representing 30% for GMPC. And then we have the yellow one, ABFA fund, we have 40%. That is 2,899,655,922. And then we have the Ghana Holding Fund, that is the 21 Heritage Fund, 21%. Sorry, Ghana Stabilization Fund is 21%, and that is 1,546,453 and 1 for Stabilization Fund. And then the Heritage Fund, you have 9%, 653, 677, 565. So in all, the amount we have released from Petroleum Holding Fund is, or if you take it 2021, was 7.33 billion. But the total petroleum money you have got was 7.36. So that's the figures. What did we see and what did we observe? First of all, we looked at the development in the upstream petroleum sector. We saw that these are some of our observations and findings. 4 of the 18 subsistence petroleum agreements, if you go to our main report, is in chapter 3. As Vice Chairman was saying, we have the whole booklet, detailed report is there. This is just a highlight. So if you go to chapter 3, you see that 4 of the 18 subsistence petroleum agreements had been terminated by the Petroleum Commission in 2021 for non-performance in their minimum work obligations. You have the nature of business, the obligation to fulfill. If you are not able to fulfill it, the authority of the Petroleum Commission to review your work, and if necessary, they cancel the agreement. And exactly, they did it to 4 companies. And then number 2, for the year under review, that is 2021, the average achieved crude oil price of $69.18 per barrel by the Ghana Group in all fields was higher than the government benchmark price of 54.75 per barrel. All what it means is that at the beginning of the year, or before the year starts, the government makes an estimate, and that's what we term as a benchmark. So the government estimate was per barrel was 54.7, but the actual was 69.18, which means what was prevailing in the market was more than the estimated benchmark made by the government. And again, when you come to the production side, it talks about annual crude oil production declined. You see why the price increased by 26%, the volume decreased by 17.7% from 66,926,806 barrels in 2020 to 50,391. So 2020 it was 66.9, but it reduced to 55.1 in 2021. And that is representing 17.7% decrease, despite the rebound of economic activities in 2021 after the easing of COVID-19 restrictions. As you are aware, in 2020, virtually we were all in our rooms, but 2021 too, the door was open temporarily for us, so we were thinking that the volume will increase because we had more time than 2020. But unfortunately, it rather went down by 17.7%. And then total revenue, this time we are talking in terms of values. The revenue increased by 17.5% from 666,390,751 in 2020 to 783,325,849.87 in 2021 due to higher crude oil prices. This is in spite of the decline in the crude oil production in 2021. As mentioned earlier on, the volume decreased by 17.7. So we were thinking that once the volume has decreased, it will go with the revenue also decreasing. But it didn't happen in that way because the price increase of 26 was more than the 17.7 decrease. So it offset it, and luckily it has increased the revenue. Then number 5, our observation also is that surface renters, remember the word surface renters, I would call it rent, arrears increased by 22.22%. The arrears from 2,110,212.23 in 2020 to 2,579,170.21 in 2021. I remember all these things are revenue, not yet, we couldn't collect them. So they are in arrears, and the difference is very big, looking at even the percentage, 22.22. When you come to number 6, after a 3-year break, allocation to the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund resumed in 2021 with an amount of 49,390,491 following the passage of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, that's the Amendment 2021 Act 1063. You are aware that there was a break, as you see on the slide. A break, the money was not going to the GIF. But with this passage of the Act in 2021, the government accordingly released money to them, and to the tune of 49,394 now one. So public should pay attention now. Now the government has released the money, so the Ghana GIF will start, or they have started working. For the first time since Ghana started receiving petroleum revenue in 2011, the District Assembly Common Fund received an amount of 32,380,403.91 following the 2019 decision of the Supreme Court in the case of Podo versus Attorney General. Mr. Podo, a parliamentarian who, that's MP, and others, they sent the government to court, and the ruling came out that they have to give money to the District Assembly Common Fund accordance with the Act. However, the government accordingly gave the money, however, the disbursement made was 1.74% of the ABFA instead of the 5% specified in the Supreme Court judgment. In the judgment, it was 5%. But the actual money, even though the money, some money or some funds were released to District Assembly Common Fund, in percentage terms, it was 1.75 instead of 5%. Although the Ministry of Finance made a disbursement of the ABFA to that District Assembly Common Fund, there was no report on the utilization of the amount. That is, at the time of writing our report, we were expecting the detailed report analysis where it went to the various district assemblies who benefited from the amount the government paid, but we didn't get that report. Number 9, for the first time again, since 2011, the ABFA was used to pay a judgment debt of 12,475,426 Ghana cedis. This was under the roads, rails, and other infrastructure priority area during the period under review. So 12.4 was used to pay a judgment debt, and that was the first time since 2011. For the first time again, since 2017, this time it's not from 2011, 2017, the government with a ratio of 77:23, that is 77 went to public investment expenditure, and then 23% went to goods and services. And truly, it complied with the PRMA requirement for at least 70% of the ABFA to be spent on the public investment expenditure. The fact is that, according to the Act, the amended one, amount given to ABFA, that's to support the annual budget, 70 of it should go to public investment expenditure. This 70%, that 25 goes to the GIF, Ghana Infrastructure. So this time, instead of 70, the government even increased to 77, which is a good sign. So 77 went to public investment expenditure, and then 23 also went to, so here the government has complied with the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. And again, despite withdrawals, that is 114.98 from the GSF, the Ghana Stabilization Fund in 2021, the reserves of the fund, Ghana Petroleum Fund, increased by 14.99%. That is from 971.43 million over that of 2020, 844.78. There were a lot of withdrawals amounting to 114.98, but the Petroleum Fund increased rather by 14.99%. Number 12, the current cap on the GSF of $100 million is not a product of the formula stipulated in the LI 2381. A proper application of the formula should return a figure of 384,000.62 million for the year 2021. You know, Ghana Stabilization Fund, there should be a cap, and that cap will come from the Minister of Finance, approved by the Parliament, but it should be in accordance with the law. And the law says that that is the law, the government came out, or the Minister of Finance came out with a cap of $100 million US dollars. But if when you do the calculation according to the LI 2381, it should have given us 384.62 million. But right now it's 100 million. So we are just drawing the attention that the calculation should go in accordance with the LI 2381, which has not yet been amended. The net return, or can call it the net income on investment of Ghana Petroleum Funds of 14.14, represents 19.29% reduction from that of 2020, 17.5. The end of year yield of the Ghana Holding Fund, Ghana Heritage Fund, was negative 1.76% compared to 4.66% in 2020. Likewise, the Ghana Stabilization Fund returned 3% as compared to 35% in 2020. We are talking about return on investment. And if you look at the investment of Ghana Petroleum Funds, there has been a reduction of 19.25. So when you break it down, it's made up of stabilization and that's the Heritage Fund. The Heritage Fund was even a negative of 1.76. Last year, that's 2020, it was a positive of 4.66, but it came to negative of 1.76. And the Stabilization Fund too came to 3%. Compared to 2020, it was 35%. So in our share, you could see that return on investment of petroleum funds, both Heritage and Stabilization Fund, drastically came down. In 2021, this time, this slide is for GNPC. GNPC could not realize its budgeted revenue from loans and guarantee amounted to $126.6 million US dollars out of the accumulated total of $318 million owed the corporation by the government and its agencies since 2011. Here, it appears to be internal affairs, but once it relates to government, you are bringing it out. The government is owing $318.09 million US dollars, and if you look at the budget of GNPC, they made a provision that you are going to receive an income of 126.68 from loans and guarantee they have written, but unfortunately it could not be materialized. So the intention was to get this money so that they will reduce the loan from the government, but that money never came. So that's why we are just pointing it out that the recommendation will come to just reserve it that money we are expecting from loans and guarantee did not come. And then the 15th, in 2021, the corporation spent $292.89 US on the Marine Boundary Special Projects, MBSP. Cumulatively, GMPC has spent a total of $11.85 million US on marine boundary related activities, even though the Ghana Boundary Commission is responsible for such activities. That is, we have separation of duties, each one for himself. Even though in no totality they are all petroleum revenue, we have function for each institution. So we don't trap into one institution and then make that expense. That's why we are bringing it out. It's the responsibility of Ghana Boundary Commission to make that payment, but GMPC did that payment. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are our findings and observation. The last aspect is the recommendations. Once you bring out something, then you have to also suggest a solution for that. So while the commission commenced the Petroleum Commission, remember we mentioned that some companies were not performing, so they canceled 4 agreements. So while the commission commenced the Petroleum Commission for terminating the agreement of 4 contractors for non-performance, PIAC urges the commission to ensure strict compliance with minimum working obligation by international oil companies, OICs. PIAC recommends strict compliance with the 2019 judgment of the Supreme Court in the case of Podo versus Attorney General, which placed that 5% of the ABFA shall be allocated and disbursed to District Assembly Common Fund. And then the third one, the Minister of Finance should provide a breakdown of the disbursement to the District Assembly Common Fund and report same to PIAC. This time we are using our power small. They should report to us because the breakdown, other than that, it will be in the system as if it was used for nothing, but if you get a breakdown, you know where the money went to. Number 4, the Minister of Finance, in collaboration with relevant institutions, should develop appropriate guidelines on the utilization and reporting of ABFA disbursed to District Assembly Common Fund. There should be a guideline so that the guidelines, you look at it since it's part of the PIAC function to do monitoring and compliance. The guidelines will help us whether the Minister of Finance has gone in contrarily or in accordance with the guidelines. So there should be a guideline, basis of distribution should be there. And then the Minister for Finance, in determining the cap on the Ghana Stabilization Fund, should comply with the relevant provision of LI 2381. And then the number 6, PIAC's call on GMPC to double up efforts to recovering loans and guarantee to government and its agencies to ensure that the cooperation work program does not suffer from non-implementation. For now, GMPC should discontinue granting loans and guarantees until significant recoveries are made with respect to outstanding loans and guarantee owed by the corporation. So this is advice we are giving to our stakeholder that they should make sure at least the guarantees you guarantee, and then there's a default, it's a cost to the company, and then a cost to Ghana. So they should make sure that they do a speedy recovery of these revenues. Thank you very much.
Please let's put our hands together for our chairman. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for that elaborate presentation. So we now have all the highlights, and the soft version will be available on our website after the event. So in the course of the program, we were joined by representatives of the National Oil Company, the GMPC. So please give us a wave and let's acknowledge you. And then we also have a rep from Talo. You are welcome, sir. So we've heard it all. Chairman has presented the facts and figures. So if there are any questions, comments, suggestions, what have you, the floor is open. So please, if you have any questions based on the presentation, you now have the opportunity. So if there's any question, please let me see your hand. My colleague will bring the microphone to you, and then we'll get answers from the high table.
Okay, so thank you, Jessica. I'm still chairing, you are helping, okay?
Sure.
So refer
You
to
have the
chair.
floor, madam.
I will do the first question. It's not directly related to the figures, and if you don't have the answer immediately, you can always get back. So is the industry maturing? Is it growing? Is it stagnating? I mean, you said out of 18 agreements, 4 were withdrawn. Of course, you can't expect 100%. So is that 4 what we expected? Is it reasonable? Is, you know, if we could get that sense, I think it will encourage us to know whether our industry is growing or not. Thank you. So Jessica, continue.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So please, the floor is open. So we'll have some more questions, and then we'll take the response from the high table. Any questions? Any comments? Stakeholders, members, everyone, media, or you are reserving your questions for later? Or is it the case that Chairman did a very good job, so we do not have any questions? Then in that case, let's put our hands together again for Chairman. Oh, okay. Okay, so the rep from ASAP says he wants to floor Chairman small, so he'll ask a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for your presentation. So my question is, last year in October, GNPC acquired additional shares in the Jubilee field and decided to give it to an offshore company. Do you have any information, one, whether that company lifted and where the revenues from that lifting has been to? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, is there any other question on the floor before we take the answers? Any other? Any other question, please? Okay, so we'll go to the high table for responses.
Well, it's a very good question, but to be frank with you, that analysis is not here. We are still doing it, so you will relate to you and then give you details of the question you have asked. But as of now, you don't have any, you can't make any comment on it now. Yeah. Oh, GNPC has so many subsidiaries and others, so that's why I'm saying that the analysis are there. You are reporting. We just took the key areas and we report. The detailed report, by all means, to come in for you to see. So just be patient and go to our website. Yeah, it will give you the appendix of all what you are saying.
Okay, so it's left with Madam Chair's question.
The chairman asked about whether the whole industry is stagnant or the progress, there's a progress. Of course, it was moving at a growth level until 2020 came in. But as you can see from 2020, we were expecting an increase in 2021, but it couldn't come on, rather reduced. Even though the revenue increased because of the increase in crude oil prices, the actual volume reduced. So it's up and down.
So I'm talking about the whole upstream industry. You know, it is more expensive when the industry is not developed. So you have to give a lot of concessions. You cannot really negotiate very hard. So the idea is after a while, after 10 years and more, it's maturing. You're having more players, and so you are better positioned. So I just want to know whether we can expect that we are maturing, so the cost of business will come down. And we'll get better.
I think, yes, I will say yes to your question. And the reason is that when you look at the initial agreement that we negotiated with international oil companies, we gave out a lot of concessions. And that was because our petroleum basins were relatively risky compared to other jurisdictions. This was the first time international oil companies were coming in, and the oil and gas business is capital intensive in nature. If they hit a dry hole, they hit it at their own expense. So there were a whole lot of factors that were considered in negotiating the terms. And you see that we gave away a lot of concessions in terms of the fiscal concessions and all that. But with the discoveries of the Jubilee 10 and these other fields, we can say that at least offshore, our petroleum basins are relatively now de-risked. They are no longer as risky as they used to be. And so you will see that starting from somewhere around 2013, 2014, new agreements that we are negotiating, we can see changes in terms of the fiscal regime, even in terms of the kind of stabilization clauses we put in those regimes, in those contracts. It has changed, suggesting that now Ghana, we are becoming matured in the way of negotiating our agreements, because we think that our basins are now a bit okay, and we can afford to flex our muscles more if, as a petroleum company, you are unable to meet your minimum work obligations. And you can see that is exactly what happened, where the Petroleum Commission, with the minister acting, flexed their muscles by terminating 4 petroleum agreements for non-performance relative to their work obligations. So for me, I will say yes. There may be other angles to it, but I will say yes for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair, for your response. Okay, Mr. Saki.
Should I get that? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We enjoyed your presentation. But last year we heard that one of our major signings in terms of a super major oil company, ExxonMobil, left us. And we don't know why ExxonMobil left. And should all ExxonMobil have made a discovery, all of us would have enjoyed a huge petroleum revenue from them. We would have been very grateful to hear why ExxonMobil left, so that maybe next time we'll take a cue from it and then prevent such occurrence again. But we didn't hear anything on ExxonMobil.
Is there any other question?
Thank you, Jessica. Mr. Chair, thank you so much. Hello, Mr. Chair. My apologies for walking in late. So I missed the first part of the presentation. Usually, PIAC presents the recommendations and the status of it. I don't know whether it was done this time around, but my substantive question is, many a times you find recommendations that recur in subsequent reports. That means that they've not been attended to by the respective agencies. Just want to find out from PIAC, what are you doing about those recommendations that have been on the shelf for years? Because every year we keep seeing same recommendation coming in different forms.
Thank you very much. I think there's a third one, so we'll take that before we come to the high table.
Thank you very much for a good presentation. But then it remains a good presentation over here, because we are not in a position to really analyze the reports and then make some comment, some critique of it. Is there no way that PIAC can present the report to those of us who are invited for this meeting to really go through it and see whether we have comments to pass? Otherwise, what has been presented here, you ask a question and it's as if we'll go back to the report. We have not seen the report. So how do we comment over here? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. So,
well, the last Madam, who asked the question, in fact, it's on our website, and this is just an opening. You give copies to all stakeholders, the detailed report. We are just launching it, as the name implies, but you create platform according to one of our mandates, platform for a lot of places for people to, after that, they have read the report, so they can come back and ask more questions. But today is just a launching of the report. The detailed report can also be found in our website, and after that, when the hard copies comes to, we give it to the various media houses also to look at it. So we have more room to ask your questions. Just reserve your questions. Last year, for example, we created more than 20 platforms, different fora, and then we were able to meet the media, all their questions. So this is just a surface of it. ExxonMobil, in fact, we answered this question in our semi-annual report for 2021. The main reason is that it's not only Ghana that they've left. About 5 countries in Africa, they did the analysis, and just like Barclays Bank, they did the analysis and they saw that the income from Africa is, to them, is peanut. So they were getting losses, and Ghana was one. So no, you run business for purpose of making profit, apart from the government where the welfare is always sought. They came here to make profit, and if the profit is not forthcoming, what do they do? And there is not only Ghana, but 5 countries, including Cameroon one. So that's the main reason attached to their living. It's not somebody causing any trouble somewhere, that's why they left. But because they did the analysis, profitability analysis, and they saw that no, they were making losses.
Yeah, but just to say that those are the official reasons they gave. But of course, there were some other reasons proffered by others. But the question you asked, I don't know whether you were just so interested in the official reasons they gave or the others. Otherwise, we all know that they left at a time when this energy transition thing was also in place. So it may have been one of their cardinal considerations in leaving, not only Ghana, all the other regions. They may have reduced their investments into hydrocarbons, or they may have planned to reduce their investments into hydrocarbons, and therefore, wherever they are involved in investing in oil and gas and all of that, they probably were trying to go nearer home or wherever and leave us to our. Perhaps that energy transition thing is one of the reasons. I mean, anybody commenting on this who is in the industry will definitely touch on the energy transition as one of the reasons they may have considered for leaving Ghana and the other places. Now, to the last question that was asked by my senior brother, Alan, of Talo. If you look at chapter 2 of our report, chapter 2 speaks to giving updates on our recommendations in the past. So all the recommendations that we have given, how many of them have been addressed by government and its agencies, how many have not been. You even see percentage terms why some of those that have not been executed. And you know our mandate, we don't really bite. So we continue to remind government agencies, duty bearers, to do what is expected of them under the law. So that has been what we continue to push. But if you look at chapter 2, it wasn't highlighted here, but chapter 2, the whole of chapter 2 is on updates on our recommendations and all that. I think that's about it.
Thank you very much, Chair and Vice Chair. Please, are there any further questions from the floor? Comments, suggestions, please? I think, okay, so we'll go to GMPC and come to you, Alan, please.
That's a follow-up question.
It's a follow-up question,
Yeah.
okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, even I do agree that you don't have the teeth to bite, but I think you have tools at your disposal which you can use. Parliament is there. I was expecting to hear that we'll use that channel or that tool. Yeah.
I agree with you. In actual fact, if you look at our mandate is to report to Parliament. And on annual basis, we appear before Parliament to defend our report. Some of those times, you appear with us. And I know because you are invited as a stakeholder. And when we go there, you can see the give and take sometimes. When PIAC says this, the ministry may disagree with us. The GMPC may disagree with us. So, of course, we do. When we go to Parliament, the expectation is that at the end of the discussions, Parliament should take it from there and make the necessary directives to the various duty bearers in the industry. And most times, Parliament does, but I'm not too sure whether we have that power to push except Parliament. Once we report to Parliament, we expect that Parliament or the executive arm of government may make directives either to the Attorney General or to any other investigative arm to investigate further if it borders on flouting some of the provisions of the Act. Otherwise, if it is merely just to do something to correct it, they may also just direct GMPC or direct PC or direct even Tullow and the other international oil companies, please ensure that ABCD does not happen again. But for PIAC, we can only report the outcome of our analysis, unless the law gives us the mandate either to also enforce same as so that is where we are. But we do our best. And we have, if you remember, recently, we have even entered into memoranda of understanding with some other state institutions, hoping that it will yield something for us. So we are not just sitting on the fence. We are taking steps. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. So we'll now take the question from GMPC.
No, it's not a question, just a
Okay.
comment. Just to congratulate PIAC on the launch of the 11th annual report. We look forward to working with yourselves and more rigorous analysis of the industry.
Thank you. Commendation well noted.
All right, thank you very much. I must say that the industry updates that have been added to the report is very useful for accountability actors like us, and I must commend you. In the semi-annual report this year, for 2021, on the expanded shallow water tunnel, which is now operated by Base Energy. It used to be Erin, and Erin went bankrupt in 2018, so you would expect that those interests will revert back to the state like we've seen in the ExxonMobil case. Now, in the semi-annual report, we see that Base Energy, whose interest used to be 5%, is now the operator with 67.5% interest. But there's no explanation as to how that transfer of interest came about. There's no transparency about it. So I wanted to ask if the new report actually provides more clarity on how that transaction has been undertaken. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can take the question from Dennis before we get the answers.
Thank you very much. On the note on which Vice Chair ended his submission, I wanted to find out from PIAC. We have observed a number of violations in this report as Chair was presenting. For instance, the issue of the disbursement to the District Assembly Common Fund was supposed to be 5% and it's 1.75%, which is a clear violation. The cap on the stabilization fund was supposed to be 384%. It is 384 million. It is 100 million, which is way lower, meaning that the excess has been used for something else. Talking about collaborations between PIAC and other state institutions, is PIAC considering submitting some of these violations to any of the state institutions for further investigation and possible review as a committee?
So I think we can take the responses.
on the first question on this base energy transfers, it is not really that detailed. There's no detailed references of that in the report. It is good that you have raised this matter. We will follow it up, and I can assure you that you will get something from us. Because normally what we do, sometimes you need prompters, right, to be able to raise some of these things. When they bring the report and we go through, sometimes one or two things may escape us asking for further and better particulars. So it means that to actors in the industry, this is so important, and we need further and better particulars on that. And we will take our time to ensure that we get more information on that and report on same for your benefit. On the issue of whether or not we may want to exercise or elect to refer some of these things to our other agencies that we have a memorandum of understanding with. First of all, our duty is to Parliament, to the executive arm, the President, and to the people of Ghana. So as we speak now, we are now launching the report. It will be important for us to meet with Parliament first and interrogate the issues before we can even think about issues of references to any other institution. Mind you, we may appear before Parliament, and Parliament may just spot on take the necessary decisions. And when that happens, there will be no basis going anywhere, because by law, that is the institution to which we must go to, not to those that we have signed memorandum of understanding with. So those that we have signed memorandum of understanding is only where the West, if it comes to the West, in the worst case scenario, and you think that if that is not bad, then you go there and see how they can also help. Otherwise, Parliament is our main partner in respect of enforcement of our recommendations and all that. Yeah. And to some extent, the President of the Republic, because we are required to report it. So when we meet with the executive arm, we try also to reiterate some of the recommendations we make and impress on the President where he sits to see what he can do to help the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Okay, so I can see a hand up. Maybe the last round for this. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We still have some two hands.
My name is Prince Ofori from the Ghana Revenue Authority. Even though I may agree with him like that, the main focus is the revenue. But we should know a lot of activities that take place for the revenue to be generated and paid into the PHF. One of them is a transition between air and base energy. There's what we call the surface render, which is a form of tax that are paid. And one supposed to pay the tax is the one who inherits the field in question. Anytime there's a transition, the arrears issue that we're talking about here are mainly arising from some of these transitions that are not brought to the public domain. So before you are aware, somebody has existed, it was the principal render, and then the revenue or the render goes away. So a lot of those render arrears here have to do with situations like what they are just witnessing. So it will be good for us to have an idea about when and then how the transition is done for the right measures to put in place before somebody exits.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to respond to me?
It's good that you are bringing all these things out. That's why we are still hammering on our friend Saki to ensure that all these service rentals and corporate income tax are collected at appropriate time. If you allow it to go into arrears and the company is going off, at times very difficult to get your money back. So, Mr. Saki, this question goes to you, not we on the table.
And just to say that it is not as if completely you won't see anything about base energy. You will see something there, but the type of analysis my director at the ASEP wanted, that's why I'm saying that we did not do that much analysis. But with the question that he raised, we may want to follow up and see whether it is something we want to look at. That's just what we're just saying. Thank you.
Okay, so I think Dennis has the microphone, so go to him.
It's a bit of follow-up to the discussion that is ongoing. I agree with Mr. Fuad about the remit of the report and the fact that you have PIAC has dealt with within its remit. But it's curious that it is GNPC that is determining this remit when they should be answering the question that ISEP has raised about base energy. Is it the case that GNPC did not see the need to exercise this right of refusal by acquiring additional interest on base energy, on the field, sorry?
Okay, so in my capacity as chair, I would want to bring us back on course. It's not GNPC who is up for washing now. We are looking at the launch of our report, but I want to come along with you to a point. You see, there is what is legally tenable as in your scope, but you're dealing with a public who may have an expectation. So sometimes in managing your relevance, you may not have a sharp cutoff. Yes, legally that's the mandate, but I strongly believe that you could use that mandate as a platform or as a base to engage in areas that are of public interest. So I'm trying to build a bridge between the two, but for now it's not GNPC who is on board. Okay, so let's leave that one.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for bringing us back on course. Please, are there any other comments or questions? If not, we would bring this session to a close. But before we launch the report, Madam Chair, with your permission, we'd like to take a 5-minute break, and then we will reconvene and launch the report. So please, we've been sitting for long. Let's just stretch our limbs a bit. We'll be back in 5 minutes, and then we'll launch the report, and we'll be out of here. Thank you.
Lord and Master Jesus, we want to thank you for your mercies. We thank you this morning for your grace. We thank you for this forum. We thank you for all the resources that you have blessed this country with. We want to thank you, O God, for the members of the various representatives that are here. We want to thank you for all the good things that you do for us. We come before you this morning asking for wisdom. We are asking for understanding, and we are asking for guidance. On behalf of the chairman and members of the committee and the secretariat, welcome all of you to this morning's Coastal Belt Forum on 10 years of Petroleum Revenue and Collection. There have been great challenges in respect of the collection of money as well as the utilization in each of the areas that is to be discussed. This primarily includes the National Oil Company.
So we can continue with our program. So we've gotten to the highlights of our launch event, where the chairman, the vice, and then the chairperson would officially launch the PIAC 2021 annual report. So at this point, I'll hand over to the chairperson and his team to do the official launch.
Cameraman, if we come down, are you okay with that? Yeah. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the high point of the meeting where we are launching the report, the 2021 report, PIAC report. So on this note, the chairman and the vice are helping. Maybe one will show the back because it's the 10 years. We want to see that we are 10 years. And one is showing the reports. So we hereby launch the 2021 PIAC reports.
Please, a round of applause as they do the official launch.
And it is our hope and expectation that the reports will generate a lot of discussion and bring ideas as to how best we can protect our oil revenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and your team. So since you still have the microphone, Madam Chair, I would invite you to give your closing remarks.
Chairman of PIAC, please permit me to stand on existing protocols to give my closing remarks. I want to start by thanking you for the elaborate presentation you made on the report. I also want to thank our audience for the questions that came that were definitely going to enrich the discussion of the report in the various fora as we go along. I want to conclude by saying that there was one article on the website of PIAC as I was doing my research for this small paper. It was entitled Optimizing Ghana's Fiscal Rule, and it was written by Aisha Adam and David Mahalyi. They made a very important point that I think is worth noting. In fact, in the report, they did say that the oil revenue formed 5% of Government of Ghana revenue. I did a little fact check with the last 3 years, and I was using the ABFA amount against government revenue. It came to 4%. So probably if we took the whole of the oil revenue, not just the ABFA, Mr. Chairman said that 1 year it was 12% and it reduced to 8%. I don't know exactly what the average is now. Now, the work we are doing with PIAC and with oil revenue, I think is a very relevant one. There's a lot of focus and a lot of policing to make sure that the revenue is going to the right places and we are using for the right products or projects. The question is, what happens to the 90% of government revenue? I don't think it's having that level of scrutiny. And so I'm back to my initial concern about PIAC's relevance. Yes, the law has defined what we should do, but the public also has an expectation. So how do we ride on what the law has asked us to do and try to be impactful or make inroads into how we can let that inform the national discourse in the various areas we operate, revenue especially, revenue management, because 5% of 100% really, one could say it's even much ado about nothing, because that's the very minority of the revenue. So in as much as we are now maturing in meeting our legal mandates, I guess it is also an opportunity to look at greater challenges as to how best we can really be relevant in the national discourse. But I want to end by saying thank you very much for having me. It's really been invigorating. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And on that thank you note, we would like to express our gratitude to all of us for taking time off our busy schedules to join PIAC for this launch. We look forward to more fruitful engagements in the future. So by way of information, after the closing prayer, lunch is served in the room where we took the snack. It's packed, so on your way out, you can grab one. So please, shall we please be upstanding? We'll take the closing prayer from Al-Haj Anderson, a member of PIAC.
Shall we pray?
Almighty Allah, most gracious and merciful, to Thee we express our gratitude for the success of this program. Obviously, the program wouldn't have been that successful without your involvement. For this reason, we express our gratitude. Lord, your word says that when thy servant called on thee, you hear their supplication and you answer. At this moment, Lord, our request is that as we leave these premises, we still commit ourselves into thy hands. Give us thy protection till we reach the end of our destinations, and we will continue to give praise to thy name. Accept our humble supplication, O Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much. Please, lunch is served behind you, the room behind you, so you can grab a pack on your way out.